This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Body of 12-year-old child found after being swept away by flood water. There was uncontrollable grief at the Montego Bay Wharf in St. James late yesterday evening as undertakers removed the body of a 12-year-old girl who was earlier swept away by floodwaters in Westgate. The search continues for her grandmother, who was also washed away. The woman's 71-year-old husband and their 25-year-old daughter were rescued by Good Samaritans who heard their cries for help as they clutched to bushes. The family was traveling in a car that became inundated. Miafi Swimang Holland Panwan branch, said the 25-year-old woman. She said everybody managed to get out of the vehicle before rushing waters caused it to overturn. The car then disappeared, as well as the elderly woman and the child. Convict to serve a minimum sentence for killing best friend as teen. Although a 25-year-old man was only 13 years old when he fatally stabbed his teenage friend, the Court of Appeal has ruled that he must serve the mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years imprisonment for murder. He spent 7 years in custody before he was tried, but the court is dismissing his appeal this month did not reduce his sentence for the time spent in custody before trial. The court also ruled that his sentence was not manifestly excessive. The man, who the court referred to as Obi because he was a child at the time of the offense, was sentenced in February 2017 to life imprisonment at hard labor. The judge ordered that he serve 15 years imprisonment before he could become eligible for parole. A home circuit court jury had convicted him in January 2017 of the murder of his friend, which took place on December 6, 2009. The prosecution led evidence that the appellant, without permission, rode away on a bicycle that his friend was using to make deliveries. When he returned with the bicycle, an argument developed between them on Rushworth Avenue, St. Andrew. The argument spiraled into physical altercation, and the appellant pulled a knife from his waist. The victim escaped and armed himself with an ice pick. An eyewitness testified at the trial that he intervened and implored them to stop. He said he took away the ice pick and threw it away. The victim then took up a knife, but the eyewitness said on his advice the victim dropped the weapon and walked away with him. The eyewitness said while they were walking away, the appellant followed behind them and then used a knife to stab the victim in the chest. In an unsworn statement, the appellant had said he acted in self-defense and did not intend to kill his friend. Attorney at law Linton Gordon had argued an appeal that the judge failed to address the jury on important issues such as proof beyond a reasonable doubt and provocation, which resulted in an unfair trial. It was submitted that the mandatory minimum sentence was manifestly excessive because the appellant did not get a reduction in sentence for the time spent in custody from his arrest in 2009 until his sentence in 2017. One of the grounds of appeal was that the judge failed to appreciate that given the circumstances of the case, the appellant should have benefited from the issuance of a judge's certificate pursuant to Section 42K of the Criminal Justice Administration Act of 2015. The judge's certificate is issued when the judge finds that having regard to the circumstances of the case, it would be manifestly excessive and unjust to sentence a defendant to the prescribed minimum penalty. The certificate allows a defendant to seek leave to appeal against the sentence. Prosecutors Orette Brown and Renelle Morgan argued that the judge's summation to the jury was adequate and very clear. They submitted that the sentence was not manifestly excessive as the judge imposed the statutory minimum sentence. Therefore, the appellate court could not reduce the sentence to account for the time spent in custody. The court, in refusing the application for leave to appeal against the conviction, ordered that the sentence is to commence from February 23, 2017. It was the court's finding that the judge properly directed the jury. On the issue of sentencing, the court said, while it is now established that a court should give credit for time spent in pretrial custody, the statutory minimum for the offense of murder outlined in the Offense Against the Person Act curtails the court's discretion to give that credit in absence of a 42K certificate. In the circumstances of this case, the learned judge did not err in not issuing such a certificate. Neither can it be said that the sentence is manifestly excessive, the court said. Car dealer shot dead in Manchester. The Manchester police are probing the murder of a car dealer at a bar in Hatfield on Tuesday night. 38-year-old Devon Henry, otherwise known as a short man, of George Reed District in the parish, was among patrons at the bar when the gunman struck about 8:30 p.m. Henry suffered gunshot wounds to the left side of his body. He was rushed to the Mandeville Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Flash flood warning in effect for 5 parishes. A flash flood warning is now in effect for Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, and St. James, and a flash flood watch for all other parishes. A flash flood warning means flooding has been reported and residents in low-lying areas should move to higher ground. A flash flood watch means flooding is possible and residents are advised to take precautionary measures and to be ready for quick action if there is flooding or if a warning is issued. Small craft operators, including fishers from the Keys and the Banks, are reminded to remain in safe harbor until all warning messages have been lifted and the wind and the sea conditions return to normal. Flooding has been reported in the following areas of St. James: Fairview, Westgate Hills, South Gully, St. Clavers Avenue, Rosemount Gardens, and Portland. In the event of heavy rains, be ready to evacuate if you live in low-lying or flood-prone areas. Decide on likely evacuation routes. Avoid flooded waterways like fords, gullies, streams, or rivers. Ensure that all important documents are secured in plastic bags or waterproof containers. And take off all electrical power, gas, and water supplies in areas that are at risk of flooding. Outstanding certificates causing enrollment hesitancy at Heart. The Heart Trust NSTA's failure to issue certificates to students for over 3 years is causing enrollment hesitancy, say some of its training institutions in St. Catherine. Hundreds of students are yet to receive certifications for their technical and vocational education and training programs, and the facilitators have reported that this has impacted the schools negatively. The coordinator of the West Prospect Skills Training Center, Sonia Stewart, said that this has hampered the recruitment drive for new students to enter the programs offered. The Heart Trust has a big delay when it comes on to issuing certificates. Now, once the certificates starts issuing, we won't have a problem with enrollment issues, she said. Within the past 3 years, 400 students have passed through the programs at the West Prospect School, but only around 100 of these have received their certificates. Stewart explained that tangible certification would show that students are fully qualified in the Heart Trust system. If that is settled, if that problem is solved, then this will prompt the young people to enroll. But when you have 3 years passed and no certificates, this puts a damp on recruitment. The coordinator for the Commodore Skills Training Center, Lascelles Burnett, however, said enrollment hesitancy is not the only problem the institutions face. She said past students are also being harassed by community members and the potential students, and it prevents job promotions for the ones employed. The students are calling for their certificates being harassed on the streets. The students are demotivated to a great extent, and it also affects the community because when I came, I was told that we are training students without providing certificates. He explained some of our students go abroad and some of them entitle promotion when they are working, and they say they need those documentary evidence to show their employers. A training center that asked to remain anonymous said outstanding certificates have mounted up to over 300 out of 550 or more students. No certificates mean no employment. Employees want to see certificates, the school said. Persons that are working are those that work for themselves or places that don't require certificates. The training center provided an advisory center from the National Council on Technical and Vocational Education and Training, a division of the Heart NSTA Trust, on July 28, 2021. The advisory stated in part the National Council on Technical and Vocational Education and Training, a division of the Heart NSTA Trust, wishes to advise all its stakeholders that we are currently experiencing challenges with the printing of certificates due to circumstances beyond our control. Every effort is being made to resolve the issue at the earliest possible time. The affected certificates are the National Vocational Qualification of Jamaica, NVQJ, Caribbean Vocational Qualification, CVQ, and the job certificates. We apologize for any inconveniences this situation may cause and crave your patience and understanding as we work towards a resolution. It has been almost a year since this advisory, but the issues remain. However, Burnett sees a light in the dim tunnel as the Heart NST Trust has implemented virtual certifications for its students, even though many of the students prefer a physical copy. What happened is that I understand there wasn't a board in place, so to get the signatures on the certificates was creating a problem. The encouragement we got is to apply for the transcript. We were able to get the transcript, however, the students were still not satisfied. They prefer to have the certificates in hand, he said. The programs provide hands-on training that can be applied to various industries, from tourism and hospitality to construction and welding, and is recognized in the diaspora as well as internationally for employment opportunities. What has happened now is that Heart is now asking all trainees to apply for an e-certificate. They sent me the link and I have been sending the link to the trainees. We are also making appointments for the trainees who are having challenges in getting through to contact our office, and we will do the applications for them. The hope is that most of the students will receive their e-certifications soon. The training schools across Jamaica play an essential role in remedying unemployment and contributing to the workforce of the country with the programs offered. Offered programs include but are not limited to tiling, housekeeping, commercial foods, painting, cake baking and decoration, and the customer engagement operations. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.